Contact them. Cleaning day, you know who shows up? That man. That man right there, my church buddy. So, yes, ma'am.
Have you put all of your information in a booklet form where it can be accessed by people later on and you might not be available
No,
to show that? Do you intend to?
no, you're not going to get access to it.
But
I'm messing with you. No, and that's a good question, and I'll tell you what we're doing about that. All of the information you see, I use Excel format to do it, recorded in. I like Excel. Um, I've had two different people trying to work with me on creating a website for it. We get a lot of requests and people text and call about that. How can I access? How can I see it? Right now, you can't. But our plan is to have a website.
that's what I want for posterity, is what I'm interested in
Yeah,
for later.
yeah. And it's been suggested, and I didn't think I'd get on this subject, put it on Find a Grave. I almost, you know about Find a Grave? I know BC does. I almost hate it because it is so full of errors. Not too long ago, was out at Petersville where David used to hang out there. David ran a store out there at the Petersville Cemetery, little black cemeteries. And it's right near the roadway, and you've been by it 500 times if you've been to Petersville. You didn't know it. It's a black cemetery. I got to researching that. Find a grave. Somebody, I don't remember the name, but that's okay, had the wrong people in that cemetery and the wrong people in another cemetery, Peters Cemetery. They won't go and correct their errors. They just copy stuff, see? And when you're doing genealogy and research, you want to be as accurate as you can. I'll use Find a Grave only as a reference, as last resort. Okay. Other than that, I hate it. Okay? Because if you upload pictures, I was told by a gentleman at Central not long ago, he used to upload a lot of photos to Find a Grave. He said when I learned they sell those photos, my photos, I stopped. Now, Ancestry owns Find a Grave. And I expect one day that they'll charge you for accessing it, but I hope not. Okay. Um, about those databases in Lauderdale County, you know about the Lauderdale County Gen website. It's a county website. The county coordinator is Patricia Hartley. Okay. Then there's one, Roots Web. It was maintained by Pat Mahan, but Pat's, I think she's still alive, but she no longer is active in updating that website. That's where the guys like Boiler and Irons, not my cousin David, but William Q. Hill and some of those guys would upload their data to. Okay. And it's good information, but it's all out of date. All of it's out of date. And
I just wouldn't want all the hard work that you've been through all these years of doing it accurately to be lost to.
yeah, exactly. And I want people to be able to use it. See, but I never planned on going this far in this depth as I did, because, like I said, it started by my family genealogy, and I want to find those grave sites of my Smith ancestors, my mother's people, and all that. And my wife, one young guy to join our group. He's about 45, but he was strong, energetic. Mike Norman, yeah. And Dane Hearn was the plumbing guy. He said he would try to come here today, but they're just not interested. And we ask them to go somewhere or do something, and we're going to do some work. I can't do that. Well, David and I've been down on the hands and knees in the dirt and the heat and the mud and the wet, for a long, long time. But I enjoy it. But to me, it's a personal thing. I just think it needs to be done. Because, as I say, those were real people buried there. And we get in some areas that are very, very difficult that you cannot get to. You won't ever find them unless somebody takes you there. We're going to see some pictures of that here shortly. But cemetery access, yeah. Don't take that and beat somebody over the head with it and say, I'm going to go to it. But most of them welcome you to go. They really do. And especially if they don't know you, and for good reason, I've had people go, well, I was told to come here, especially ladies, they don't know who I am. And I'm alone. My wife doesn't go because she's a city girl. She's not going to do this. Okay, even though she's a butler and we're about seventh cousins. So But you got to be careful and respect their wishes, you know, and their property. And we don't damage any property. We don't cause problems. We'll leave before we, you know, create a problem. And these pastures, and somebody said, well, just I've had them tell me on the phone, going through the gate over here, you know, pasture, just close it. And we do that. So we want to protect their interests and their property. Okay, we really do. Any other questions from the audience? I thought that guy had his hand up way back there. He's taking a nap. What he's doing.
You know, this, of course, this is beside the point,
Yeah.
cemetery. It's natural cemeteries where you just take your body out and lay it up against a tree and you walk the gate and come on out and it's picking places. You know anything about that? That's a going thing in some of the big cities.
Yeah, it is.
Wrong with it, but it's different to our culture.
Yes, it is.
Still, what difference does it make?
Exactly. But in the deep South, where we all come from, we don't do those things. Yeah. But you know why people are burying on their own property now? The primary reason is the cost. It costs you a fortune to die and get processed and get buried. And a funeral home has to utilize whatever you take to them or you send to them as far as a casket wise. I personally know people that go to the Amish now for $500, $600 get a beautiful walnut casket. And the funeral home has to use it, whatever you take to them. But it's cost. It's crazy. You know. And my older brother, he said, I think I want to be cremated. And I'm always tweaking him, you know, kind of irritating him. And I said, why? He said, well, it's simple. People don't have to worry about it. I said, look, someday all the dead in Christ are going to rise. And I'd be concerned he missed some of those ashes when he comes pick it back together. I said, he looked at me, crazy thing.
This cremation has only become popular in the South over the past few years.
That's right.
Because it was very foreign. There's a burial of a dead in the South is a social event. It has been a social event for many years. And this cremation process has just been a little more acceptable in the last few years.
It is, yeah. There's nothing biblical wrong with that. Okay? So, but I just think I don't want to be cremated. Personally, okay. Kind of unnatural.
Funerals are for the families.
I was going to mention that. I had that on. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm teasing you, but I was going to say something. You're correct. And I'll just mention this and I'll stop on that. I had an uncle, my dad's younger brother. He was a pastor, single guy, with Air Force, Navy, veteran. And he had 5 churches up near Shelbyville, Tennessee before he passed away. And we would talk a lot. And he would say, he said this one day. He said, and I never thought of it. He said, the funerals, that's not for that person at casket. What are we talking about? Why are we here? It's for the survivors. That's who it's for. That person's gone, his soul's gone wherever it's going to go. Okay. No, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. Any other questions? Yeah, you want to tell the audience about your YouTube channel? Very good. Well, we talked a little bit about graves. You know what the typical size of graves are. Okay. 4 feet by 8 feet by 6 foot deep. Now, the depth of grave is determined by the state. Each state can determine their depth. They have that right. If you notice, not long ago I was in a couple of different cemeteries. Happened to be there when the folks came to dig their grave. They're not exactly 6 feet deep anymore. They may be 5 feet. Okay. Way back when, there were 3 feet. Some of them, 4 feet. Okay. And some older cemeteries, they're multiple bodies in a single grave. Okay. Space requirements, usually.
Just had a first cousin buried in Caldwell County, stacked. Her husband passed away several years ago. She's buried on top of him.
Okay.
And the cemetery or the funeral home there on Russell Shoals.
Okay. Okay.
My parents are buried. My father was a veteran, and so he passed, and he's buried in a veteran cemetery. And then when my mother passed,
she's buried right on top of it. And we told them that at the beginning, and they dug the grave deep enough where she could be buried on top of it.
Mhm.
That's
In some of these older remote cemeteries, especially, well, Lauderdale and Wayne County, the outlying cemeteries, you know, they go way back 150 years. Well, then there was, if people didn't have the resources, the money, they didn't have a store-bought marker gravestone. They would be field stones. Okay, those get moved around and destroyed and moved out of the way. And there've been a number of cases, especially Wayne County, I know of, where they start digging a grave and it would be into another one because there's no marker. In most of the older churches, especially the churches, they didn't have a person designated to record the graves. Now, a typical case is Cedar Grove Cemetery. David knows where it is, and you guys may. It's Wayne County. You go up Chisholm Highway, you know where the railroad church is up on the left. That's pumping. That's if you go left, it's pumping station. That's Iron City Road. You go a mile and a half down, you turn left at the Cedar Grove sign. At that Cedar Grove church, my mother was a Bromley, and there's 50 Bromleys buried there, and I'm related to all of them. Okay, well, they had cemetery records, but some years ago, some bad guys broke into the church, took the safe, and had all the old church records in it. Okay, so they lost all that information. I've helped them kind of recreate some of it. Okay, but just so many unknown graves, you know, and that we wish we could identify. But you see that in a lot of the remotely located older cemeteries there, both Wayne County and, well, it's all over the country. Okay, but it's sad, but they do. But up there, there was several occasions where they'd be digging a grave and look, here's another guy already buried here. You know? Okay, that sort of thing. Lauderdale County cemeteries. You have any idea? Don't you answer? You know, David. This is David over here. You may not be able to see it. How many cemeteries in this county? You ever think about that? A bunch?
32.
How much?
31 to 32?
No.
No, that's Waterloo, I'm sorry. Around
Waterloo.
this area.
Well, yeah, you
I'm trying
Waterloo
to take
history.
good
See,
notes.
she's already focused on it. And
A lot.
yeah, Lee Freeman to Library also agrees it's probably 425 cemeteries. People say, what? Cemeteries are everywhere. And there's probably 20 or 30 we don't know about. Now, I have been to 346 in the county. That's not all the big ones. You know, it wasn't my goal to go to all of them when I started this, okay? I'm just interested in the smaller, the remote ones. They're single graves or family plots are out in the middle of somebody's pasture. But I've been to 346. But they're everywhere. Around them, Tennessee, we found them in graves in folks' backyard. They've got graves in my yard. Yeah, yes, ma'am, they're back here. Oh, I didn't know that. You know, they're not going to hurt you. It's okay. But they're everywhere. And to emphasize that, I'll say, well, yeah, 300 years ago, where were those people buried? Somewhere around here. 500 years ago, you had another tens of millions. They're buried somewhere. They're everywhere. Okay, everywhere you go, worldwide. Yes, ma'am.
I do have another
Your name
question.
is
Major.
Major. Were you a major in the Army?
Air Force, actually.
Air Force.
When I
My
was in
son's
the Navy,
Air
I was
Force.
out there. Been married a couple times.
Okay.
When you're out walking through an older cemetery and you find what you think is a headstone, do you have a way of finding out if there's actually a grave underneath?
Yes, and mostly no.
Okay.
There's some, and David, if he wants to comment on this, he can. When we go to these old cemeteries, a lot of them are surrounded by trees. There's only two graves, it'd be in the middle of a grove of trees, and there's no markers sometimes. Now, there's two indications, actually. Three. If there's a stone, old one, it'd be a fill stone somebody's put. And they used fill stone when they had no other resources to buy a gravestone. Now, my great-grandfather up at Mount Pleasant and Pumping Station Road, he was a Methodist circuit rider preacher, a blacksmith, and all these other things. And he would make gravestones, hand making for people who didn't have any resources. And you can still see some of them in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. But that, or no markers at all. There's two other indicators that we know of. One of them is a depression. Okay, you'll see a depression. Now, if there's no depression, but you know there's graves there, you want to tell them?
Well, no, it's kind of controversial.
But it works.
Dowsing.
There's
I've heard that.
dowsing.
Actually, I didn't remember what the term was, but I was just gonna ask about that.
But
And it does work.
It works.
it works.
Tell us how it works.
I don't know.
Well, just tell them how you go about it. You sometime we get the dowsing rods. David will go out here. And
Well, it's just, I can't really explain it. It's just,
What
some
is,
people have more of a feel for it.
can you describe what you do?
or what you use.
Or what you use, yeah.
Well, just two rods. Ones I've got about 18 inches.
Something, yeah.
And they're made out of what?
They'll, when you cross a grave,
Are they made out of wood or
no,
pipe
no,
or
no.
steel or what?
They're metal.
Mine are
You just
metal.
go to Lowe's and get 2 pieces of metal?
No, they're gonna look at you, lady. What are you asking?
But it-
No.
I need this is
a
for
certain wood. that is-
dowsing for 101.
Okay.
I need to understand a piece of wood, a tree branch that forked, and then that's where they douse for water.
Water witching, we called it on the farm. It worked.
It
Peach,
is.
yeah. Learned that as a young kid.
We used to try coat hangers.
Yeah, my first one was coat hangers, and I read first about it some years ago about this lady in Missouri. She developed her techniques, and she's extremely good at it. She's taught some other people. Occasionally, she's called to go to other states, and one I read about was, I think it was somewhere in East Texas. They were going to exhume a body. Law enforcement wanted to have them to look at it, but they want to make sure they were at the right grave, and they weren't sure. So asked this lady to come down and find it. They said the grave's here. We don't know if it's a male or female. We don't know which is which. And now she can tell you if it's a male or female, and sometimes we can. And she can tell you if it's a child or not. There's a way to do that once you develop the other techniques, okay? But she went down there and told them, right here it is. This is a male. I forgot if they were looking for a male or female. And she told them which one it was, and they got it, brought the casket up, opened it up, and she was correct. Now they didn't get her to come down there to test her, but she's renowned for that. She's very good at it, and she's taught other people about it.
How does she do it? Do you know? Do you know her secret?
There's no secret.
How does she do it?
Okay, let me say this. Science, some years ago, have tried to disprove this or determine why it works. Science, and I think maybe they've changed their position nowadays. When you die in your body, no matter where it is in the ground, it retains a certain amount of magnetic energy. Scientists then was saying because there's retention in energy and we got those metal rods, that's what causes the foot to move. I think maybe they're changing their mind now and they said they don't understand it. But now it will work, but not for everybody. Okay. To me, and I don't tell people this, I've gone up to Mount Pleasant. My great-great-grandfather, James L. Smith, all of his family is buried there. People have told me, he's buried in Hardin County. I go to the cemetery to Hardin County. He's not there. He had no reason to go to Hardin County. All his family is around Wayne County up there, state line. I never told anybody this, especially on camera. Are we going live around the world, BC? Okay, that's good. What I did one day, I went up there with my dowsing rods, homemade with coat hanger. You can do it, coat hanger. Now I've got some store-bought ones. They may work better and may not, depends on the wind blowing. So I knew where the family graves were. And I knew about, well, here's the space out here. There's not marked. He could be right here. If you look at, this dimension for graves, he could be right here. And I had, some years ago, I produced a grid of the cemetery and where I think he's buried. And I put a piece of paper there so I could see it in the pictures. So what I did, there was nobody there. Okay. So I walked around the cemetery with my rods, walking, trying to clear my mind because, I'm always thinking about stuff and trying to focus on that. And I was actually asking, James L. Smith, are you buried in the cemetery? But I walked round and round. Okay. I could get a reading at 2 or 3 different locations in that cemetery where they probably were graves. Okay. But I just know he's in that cemetery. There's no reason to be buried anyplace else. His sons, brothers are all buried there. But sometimes I can go out and it doesn't work for me. Okay. And you have to be careful. The wind. Wind can make your rods move. Okay. So if it's a windy day, you're wasting your time. Okay. Even if you've got the ones that, like Dave and I have, store-bought ones, got little insulators in them and it'd be easy to move.
What are they called?
Dowsing rod. Dowsing rod. But nobody around here has them. You have to order them. Go to Amazon, and there's 400 different sizes. Go get them, please. I do too.
It's show and tell time.
Show and tell.
I have to see that.
But people will say no, that's fiction. It won't work. Well, it will work.
And it works for finding water.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Because there's certain people in the community that they would get that gentleman, that older man, that proved that he found the water.
Oh, yeah. And I've read cases where there's a man, that's all he did, will go find water for a new family or building a house or something. He go find water for them. Yeah.
So do you think that the difference between a man and woman is because of the magnesium in their body? Maybe a man has more or less, or is that what?
Yeah. But that lady.
That's supposedly based on.
Well, yes, but nobody's really sure. Okay. And scientists have the people that studied this some years ago about this said, we don't know. And they don't want to say it works because they can't prove it or disprove it, see. But it does work for the right people. But sometimes, like I said, I can't get it to work for me. Now, it'll go different directions for male or female. And that's positive. It does. It does.
I'll put them somewhere else. I'm sorry.
Go look in my car. It should be open. And look in, I think it's the back seat or floorboard. It could be in the trunk, David. Yeah. Now, they're simple devices. Yeah. Now, they're very expensive. So handle them with care. You see this nice case? Here they are. Now, see, these I got because it's got this as a little sleeve so you don't change direction.
So you just walk up to where you think a grave is, and you show me how you would do it, please.
You need to hold it out like this, away from you, steady, same distance. It's moving now for some reason. It can't be because of the air wind blowing because it's hot in here. But like that.
And they'll cross.
They'll cross. Now you can make them move.
Sure.
That's why you need to do this when it's calm. There's no wind. Okay. Now make them out of coat hangers like this, but you got to be careful because you're holding the ends. See here, without these spools on here, you're holding the ends of it, and you can hold them tight enough. They're not going to move, or you light enough as well.
I have never seen this before. That's fascinating.
Hold the other one. I'm gonna get away from this lady. She made me full of magnetism. It works.
My people are not from here.
There's probably
Play with it around the house.
there's probably some YouTubes on this. I've forgotten the lady's name. Okay, but then sometimes there's another lady or two that goes with her different places, and sometimes they've tried to disprove her and they can't. She's always been correct.
No.
Did you see?
Actually, I have.
Did you feel it?
Yeah, what I've ever heard was about water.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought there was just one stick. for
Same
water,
same
but
principle. Yeah, it's a forked stick for water primarily. We used to use peach trees,
Yes.
and it would go.
Right.
Yeah.
Now look at there. Here's a cross. And just standing still.
That's so strong a signal there that it ain't gonna move. You picking up somebody. ABC. It's strong magnetic field
At
back
least
there.
a little bit of wind.
Yeah. But you hold them out and space them about like this. Walk. Got to keep them level. Now I hope I don't start getting a lot of phone calls and texts. I want to go grave dowsing because I'm not going. I'll ask David to go. I don't get any movement out of them. So you got to be real careful. You don't want to drop them. You don't want to influence the movement, but wind can. Okay. I was a few months ago. I was up near south of Rogersville, the cemetery, Hill Cemetery, I think it was, Elgin, near south of Lexington, this lady and man came up, and I saw them behind over there, and they came over and introduced themselves. And she'd seen some of our surveys. And then they asked me, said, we like to go to cemeteries, but you ever heard of grave dowsing? I said, yes, ma'am, I have. She said, well, we do that some. I said, okay, that's good. Does it work for you? She said, yes, it does. But to me, I have to be focusing on it, okay, and not thinking about 400 other things in my mind. See? I'm a technical person, and I'm always thinking about stuff. And I'm old now, and I shouldn't be doing that, okay? But I like this stuff. But I have to kind of clear my mind trying to. That's why I would walk around Mount Pleasant Cemetery Yard up there and trying to focus just on that. It works. But I'm not going to tell you I can go out here today somewhere and up here at Wright's and found some unknown graves. I'm not going to say that, but we probably could. Any other questions from the audience about grave dowsing? Good. Thank you very much.